that you know is diagnosed or someone that you think might just need additional support, even if it's you're having a tough time, you find yourself having a challenge handling day-to-day tasks or simple tasks, please contact us at the National Action Network. Our telephone number is 877-626-4651. We have incredible mental health resources available for people at all ends of the spectrum, not just those who have been clinically diagnosed, but those that just need help on any particular day of the week. It is much better for you to come here or to call here or to email here or to send a bird mail here, something here, than to suffer alone. And I want to make this announcement, and I'll be making it every day, every week, in addition to sharing it on Saturday, this coming Saturday as well, that you do not have to suffer alone. And I know that's a message that we see on commercials if you watch TV, and I know that's a message that you listen to on the radio, and I know that's a message that you might see on social media during the National Awareness Months. But 365 days a year, National Action Network has a resource available for you. And there is someone here for you. If you personally find yourself in the midst of a dark space where you can't seemingly figure your way out, call us here at the office, stop by the office, but whatever you do, reach out. And it doesn't necessarily have to be for you, it can be for somebody else that you know, or maybe you're just looking to get information to spread, to those in your community. Please reach out. We will have resources available this week in the format of handouts, so that you can coordinate or dialogue with people in your communities. But I want you to spread the word, whether it's identifiable or not, that we're here for you. This office in particular is here for you and those that are out there having an experience of sorts. We would much rather you get support than for an incident to occur outside of here with the police, with other individuals that you may come in contact with who do not know that you're going through a crisis. We have an individual, you all may have interacted with her here. She tends to come in and have outbursts, right? Well, her niece came in this week, in particular, looking for help, saying her state, her cognitive state has declined, and her physical appearance is in direct correlation with her mental appearance. And this woman a year ago was walking up her, a little bit aggressive in terms of personality, but not to the degree to where she is now. And we saw her last week, and she's literally bent over her cart all the way. Okay, so mental health challenges are very real, and they can vary in nature. And we want to get the resources to you and to your loved ones and to the community at large in advance. And so we're not doing reactionary work, even though we'll do reactionary work. But if we can get the resources out to individuals in advance, we would be much better off as a community than waiting until after the fact. So again, please call us 877-626-4651 Monday through Saturday. You can ask for me, Katrina Jefferson, if you or someone you know is looking for a mental health resource or looking for resources to get to someone you believe may be in crisis or at the brink of going into a severe crisis state. And that concludes my announcement for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Katrina. We really have to, as a people, destigmatize, mental health, not just see it as a weakness, so we can get the help that we need, and also so we can get people like us in those professions that are truly there to help us. Because, I don't go there because they're only white therapists and stuff like that. Well, how are we going to get black ones in there? How are we going to get black people help if they don't want to go there because they don't see themselves there? So once we destigmatize it, and then we get the people in those professions, we can help each other. And also, get off your phone, converse with your family members, because that one smile, that one hi, how are you doing, seeing them can save a person's life. And next, we have our main membership and text alerts from Miss
Megan. Hi, everyone. Hi, National Action Network. I also second all the thoughts about mental illness. When we have a broken leg, we have no problem. We go to a hospital, we go to a doctor. But when we have a broken heart, or when something in our mind is a little bit off or a little bit broken, we got to go to a doctor too. It's okay. Just a different part of our body. Anyway, Membership and text alerts. Is everybody an updated member for the year of 2021? Anyone else? Anyone else? Who's an updated member? Raise your hand. Ah, there we go. Have you renewed your membership? If not, this applies to you as well as those who are not members. The best way to stay informed in the action is to become a member of the National Action Network. Stay informed about NAN events close to you where you live. Text JUSTICE followed by your state to 59769. And join us at our Saturday Action Rally every Saturday at 9 a.m. here at the House of Justice. Woo-hoo! I'll hand it back to Uzma.
Thank you, Ms. Megan. Our advisor, give her a round of applause, please. Okay, now we have our Did You Know? So we're welcome, Brother Chris. Now, I don't give a
Okay, so yeah, that's not gonna be a thing. That's not. All right. Goodbye, Columbus. Here's what Indigenous People Day means to Native Americans. This year marks the first time a U.S. president has officially recognized Indigenous Peoples Day. President Biden issued a proclamation on Friday to observe this October 11th as a day to honor Native Americans, their rights, and their contributions to American society. Throughout history, even as they faced assimilation, discrimination, genocide that span generations, the move shifts focus from Columbus Day, the federal holiday celebrating Christopher Columbus, to Indigenous Peoples Day, which would share the same date this year. I still don't think I've fully absorbed what this has meant. Dylan Baca, a 19-year-old Arizonan, says, "This is a profound thing the president has done, and it's going to mean a lot to so many people." For those who don't know what Indigenous Peoples Day is, Indigenous Peoples Day advocates say Indigenous Peoples Day advocates say the recognition helps correct a whitewashed American history that has glorified Europeans like Italian explorer Christopher Columbus, who has committed violence against indigenous communities. Native Americans have long criticized the inaccuracies and harmful narratives of Columbus's legacy that credited him with his discovery of the Americas when indigenous people were there first. So I'm gonna go a little bit off this. When we were younger, learning in schools that Christopher Columbus in 1492 sailed the ocean blue and founded America, Indigenous Peoples Day is the holiday that is going to exist now that is going to completely combat that. Now, while Columbus Day will still stand and people will still get off of work, because we know y'all enjoy y'all Columbus Days off from work and school, Indigenous Peoples Day acts to shed light on the fact that a community was completely mistreated, and the man who mistreated them was put on a pedestal and put into history books for thousands of years. Now, while this is cool, this also doesn't completely of torture and suffering that indigenous people have seen throughout our country. I'll say this before I get into my question. We have Black History Month, but Black History Month doesn't completely make up for all the years that slaves were taken advantage of, and all the pain that we've suffered throughout history as Black people and African Americans, and even Africans, because people go through a bunch of stuff now too. Y'all are going through everything, but so easily do we look at other groups and say, oh, racism is only between Black and white people. I've heard people say racism is only between Black and white people. There's so many Native Americans, even today, who are living on reservations, getting less than minimum wage, not enough money to survive off of. I have a friend who lives on a reservation, and his mother's getting $9 an hour for her job. So conditions for them are still not good. And this is to the point where it's like, imagine you live on a reservation as a child, and you have to see in history books or in school that the man who literally brought about the demise of your people is being put on a pedestal as this king or as this god who discovered your country. So my question to you guys is, within protesting, within all the action that these indigenous people have taken, like us, and they haven't seen any reform, What do you think the next steps are? They've gotten this day, but what do you think comes next for them to really be glorified and really get back what was taken from them in 1492 when this man came with diseases and violence and weapons and said, we discovered what you already own. So you guys can come up. But what do you think is the next steps for, what comes after Indigenous Peoples Day?
Yeah, so like.
It comes to
So the next step is that, well, really acknowledging of the history of Indigenous people and actually highlighting, Indigenous people that actually contribute to history. Like, how, Chris, remember you mentioned Black History Month and how we highlight, our history too? Well, I was thinking that, I think they have Indigenous and Heritage Native American Heritage Month. I think that's in November. But we should really push, the history and the contributions that Native Americans actually did for the country, like Pocahontas or Sacagawea or Chief Bigfoot, like all of them, Yeah, there was actually a chief called Chief Bigfoot. Like highlighting their contributes in their lives and celebrating just like we do with our communities. So I think that's the next step.
clap that up.
Yeah, so in California, Gavin Newsom returned Manhattan Beach to the Bruce family and other Black descendants, right? That of their land that was stolen from them. So I think what it looks like, which was a major win for reparations advocates, what it looks like is, how do we perceive land that we have? How do we perceive items that we've stolen? And how do we, I don't know if it's, and how do we give back or at least share ownership of land that is not ours and rightfully theirs? So I think that would be.
Go ahead, that's a man of Morehouse right there. Come on now.
Hey, everybody. So anyone who knows me knows that I want to end white supremacy. So this right here is one step in that direction, because I think that one of the next steps that needs to happen is that our history books in our classrooms need to be rewritten completely. We need to trash all of our old history books and rewrite them with everybody's accomplishments, not just the white people, and not just from white people's perspectives as well. So renaming this day, I think, is going to help, some of my ancestry that came over on the Mayflower, and I'm still trying to figure out if they were nice people or mean people. I think it's going to help rewrite and get a step in the right direction to end this white supremacy problem we have. So there you go.
Oh, gee.
What's next for them? I don't want to say that we have had Black History Month for years. We just got Juneteenth passed as a federal holiday. And now we got the Indigenous People Day passed. So what I want to know is, first, for the government, is this a symbolic act? Because we got Juneteenth and all that, but yet the legislation that we actually want passed, we have not gotten that. So what are you doing? Are you claiming that you're being progressive, that you're actually fighting for the rights of the people, yet you somehow let them die when they don't receive justice? You don't let them get to vote people out that they want to vote people out, and you deny them access to Medicare, healthcare, and things of that nature. So what are we doing here? Just giving me a day or just acknowledging, yes, we are actually evil people, and you're actually right that we didn't do all this is not enough, because we already knew this. Is that you completely forgot it yourself. We know what you did. We know who you are. So what we want for you is infrastructure, we want legislation, and we want opportunities to be able to get back what we had. Thank you.
The word.
Hi, y'all. God bless you all. I'm so glad we're here together. The question is, what's next for the Indigenous people?
Yes. What are the next steps?
The next step is putting in the work. The thing about it is when a person has experienced injustice, in order to right some wrongs, requires a lot of work. It requires even making the best effort not to become frustrated because the whole system is designed basically to frustrate some individuals. So the indigenous people got to be ready to march, speak up, elect the right officials, make phone calls, speak up, make phone calls, protest is continuous until something significant is done. So they got to realize they have to plan and make an effort to bring as many plans as they can to their benefit. That's how basically those of us who have reaped the benefits of our ancestors, they put in a lot of work. And we still got to do that too. So they have to understand that's part of the process, putting in the work. Thank you.
Okay, so to close, a wise man said once Derek Chauvin was found guilty for the charges of the murder of George Floyd, this is only the beginning. With Indigenous people, this is only the beginning. There are some wins that come, there are some small wins that come very easily, it seems, and there's some things that you want that are gonna take a lot more time. Keep the faith, never get hope, and congratulations, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Chris. Give him a round of applause one more time, please. And for our next digital article, we have Mr. Julian. Give him a round of applause again.
Great job, man. So I'm making sure, so we ask the audience a question afterwards? Is that what okay, cool. So my article is about the fact that HBCU funding falls from $45 billion to $2 billion under Biden's spending plan. I know, the Reconstruction bill. This has been due to Democratic infighting. And the more conservative Dems are asking the same question that they always ask, which is a deep Republican question, is how are we going to pay for it? Meanwhile, HBCUs have been essential to creating some of the greatest cultural leaders, political leaders, medical leaders, and they're expected to work with so little. HBCUs, I think, just a couple of facts to deliver to you. They made up, I think, about a combined, I know this is so interesting. The article states the cumulative endowment for all historical Black colleges through 2019 was a little more than $3.9 billion. About the same as the endowment of the University of Minnesota. HBCUs, about 10 HBCUs spend about, 10 or 11, spend about $1,000 per student. To put that in context for you, ladies and gentlemen, I'm applying to law school. These law schools, University of Virginia, puts about $100,000 into each of their students. So we're expected to produce so much with so little, and we have. And there's a significant narrative that's always being spread. There are strong people. There are struggle people. They can keep on churning and churning. HBCUs cannot continue to work like this. How can they attract talent? The only reason why we're able to produce such incredible scholars is because we have teachers who can work with students, care for the students, inspire the students. But you're expecting PhDs to work for poverty wages? You're $200,000 in debt? You can have all the love in the world, but you working for nothing? That's what's expected of them. Students are kicked out of school within their first or second year because they can't make the bill. 81% of HBCU students in one of the schools here are low income. Black students, when you guys go to school, more than likely, you guys will have about $25,000 more in debt than your white counterparts. That's fair? The only way you gotta break out that cycle is taking racist exams that prove nothing? So let me ask you guys a question. It's all doom and gloom at the moment, but there's something that we can do about it. And I want to ask you guys a question. What can we do to organize around this issue and expect more from a Biden-Harris administration, where Biden went to a public college and doesn't believe in, eliminating $50,000 worth of student debt, which would really put a lot of innovation in the economy and invest a lot to the economy. And Kamala Harris went to Howard. And these Democrats are in office because of Black students like me supporting them. So, and Black people like you fighting on the streets. So what do we do? How can we organize? It's open to the floor.
None of our HBCU grads want to take this? What's up? First, I want to say our VP should have spoke for the HBCUs, because when she first took office, it's about how Black she was, it's about how she went to Howard, it's about how she's an AKA, and then we've seen on her staff that many students are from HBCUs and things of that nature. So how can, when you was elected on our backs of our work, how come once you get in that office, you don't have our voice no more? We largely put you in that position so you can speak for us and you can fight for us, because we all can be in that room. So we expected the people to have our ideas and voices in mind when they're making these decisions, but yet they cut all of this funding from us. And it gets us wondering, oh, Trump raised it, Trump promised to fund it, and then Biden cuts it. Should we have left Trump in office? Some people start to think that. So in 2022, Trump is not in office anymore, so that won't motivate me to go vote. That won't motivate me to get Trump out of office. It won't be like choose the devil or choose evil. It will just be let them do what they have to do. Or what we can do as students is show up and vote, register to vote, go out and vote so they can see that we are voting. We also have to not just vote, but we have to run for office. Once we run for office, we show our plans, we show what we have, and we challenge these long politicians who've been in office. But some of them have been doing the work, but there are some who's just there to be a face. And we're not here for that anymore, and we want change, and we want it now, because we have been making more with less. And we're tired of that. It's time we get the opportunity that everybody else has and be the land of freedom, be the land of opportunity and justice.
Good job. True. Is it just symbolic, right? So yes.
Oh my gosh, Usman, he stole everything I was about to say. But at the same time, we also have, they also have to start prioritizing HBCU colleges, because all education matters to everybody. And so they need to start thinking that too, because cutting funding is like really, really terrible to HBCU colleges, and even schools now is starting to fail because we're losing funding for classes that students are starting to lose out on, like say music or art schools. Like all that is cut out, but yet they're stuck into like boring classes, as they say. So I honestly think that they really need to prioritize, education for all children, not just white kids, but for Black kids and even other groups of kids that really need the education to be prosperous in this country.
Awesome point. To something that you were saying, I just wanted, in the article they were talking about this one HBCU who needed the funding to create a nursing program, and because of it they didn't get it. So what happens if the second wave comes of COVID, right? We don't have the educated students to handle the issue. That's a great point.
Okay, I want to see if I really understood this. At one time, the budget for HBCUs was 45 billion.
So the bill originally had, reconciliation bill had originally 45 million allotted to HBCUs. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. I forget about the mic. So originally in the bill, there was $45 billion allotted to HBCUs. They didn't cut it in half. No. They said instead of 45 billion, we'll give you 2 billion.
I will have to do more research.
Okay.
This sounds like really extreme. So, yeah. So in the past, HBCUs have been funded. So what I would need to do is research to understand what was the previous actual funding delivered to the HBCUs and go from there. Because right now, this is like so extreme, I can't really believe it. I have to do more research.
You know, I'm gonna find it for you and we're gonna talk about it, because it's crazy. Anybody else? Oh, what's up, King?
All right, so, there's a couple things I'll say, but I'll leave it short for the sake of time. There has to be first a tough conversation with the vice president. A tough conversation. After, Madam Vice President, you are an HBCU graduate. How the hell does this happen on your watch? Like, that's exactly how it needs to go. But in terms of certain funding, and, well, you made a point about voting too, correct? Okay.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry. So in terms of voting, this also has to be said too. It's not one thing to get people to register to vote, to pick names of, people that your interest, but it's also another thing where we have to start really pushing people who support our interests. Because if you're just registering to vote, but you're not really paying attention to the folks that's the community's interest, then that's a problem.
Yeah.
That's a big problem. It's not enough anymore to say, well, let's just set up a table and set up a line to go vote. This is the issue, because there's no way that an HBCU graduate who's number 2 in the country allows this, was a $44 billion drop. That's a problem. The University of Harvard, or Harvard University's endowment, is larger than all of those HBCUs combined. How is that possible? I went to Morgan State during the time during the Bush, whole recession thing. It was tough getting money. Pell Grant saves a lot of HBCU students.
Yeah.
But at the same, he could attest to that. He went to Morehouse. So, and then you get down into the state specifics with HBCU funding. Public HBCU, private HBCU, depending on your state, that's a whole nother conversation. So this definitely needs a deeper conversation, a deeper dive, and all the HBCU presidents need to have a meeting with the Biden-Harris administration tomorrow or this week, all of them, and that's where it starts.
And to the young lady who asked about the previous endowment, it was 3.9 billion. So that was what it was.
Okay, so I just want to correct something. So under the Trump administration, I don't know if you all remember the photo op, where all the HBCU presidents went to the White House and had to meet with Trump, and he promised them all the money, and they never got it.
Yeah.
So that's what you said, Usman, it was not better under Trump. They didn't get that either. So basically, HBCUs, the state of HBCUs has been in dire state for the last 5 years as far as funding. To me, after Obama, the funding for HBCUs completely dwindled.
Yeah.
And somebody might not like this, but I recently saw an article about defunding the police and how that slogan basically caused the government to go and defund other groups, other parts of the bill, not the infrastructure bill, basically the money. They went and defunded it in the other groups and basically didn't defund the police, but basically took it away and tried to reallocate it to other ways. So basically to make you shut up and say, see, we gave it here, we gave it a little bit here, but we had to take it in one places. One of those places was HBCUs. So the problem is, first of all, it's not just meeting with the Biden administration. I completely think y'all are right as far as Kamala Harris. Yes, I think she should be doing more, much more, especially as a product of power. But I also must say our community must be doing more. I went to Hampton. I did not graduate from Hampton, but I have so many friends that are alumni, right? Some people that have so much pride, they go back to homecoming. Part of that pride is giving back to what gave to you. So if you graduated from the HBCU, like you just said, the endowment, people that go to Harvard take care of Harvard. I went to Poly Prep, country day school. The kids that went to Poly Prep, their parents, all that, they go and invest back into the school that invested into them. We have to do the same and take care of our own people. We always talk about Operation SOS here, Operation Save Ourselves. You think it's the difference in government? You think it's the difference what we're doing outside? You think it's different for our education? So if they produced you, you need to help. If you're making money, if you have different resources to do things with corporate people, like Robert F. Smith went and gave all that money to all in Morehouse and paid their debt, that's what we need to be pressuring people to do. If we know these corporations have bread like that, like DoorDash, like different groups like that, we need to be asking them to help us with our HBCUs. The government, y'all say what y'all want to say. The government, yes, we will continue to work them, and they're supposed to be doing their job because we elected them. But all our faith cannot be in the government. At the end of the day, we're at the national level. All our faith cannot be there. We have to save ourselves. We have to pick it up from the bootstraps and make sure we demand that we save ourselves. With Kamala, Kamala has a great relationship with her. At the end of the day, don't think that people are not, no offense, beating her up, not in the same physically, but basically taking her to task. If y'all think that they're not NAACP, NAN, Urban League, and all of the legacy civil rights groups, all of the schools, all the HBCU presidents are not taking them to task, y'all are confused. But there's a problem going on in the government right now. It's almost shut down right now. So this is a dire state. You said something in the back, Julia, in the back, that I want you to share out here. We are in a specific time. So much is changing. And it's a crazy time because it's bad. So much craziness we're taking it back, all the way back. But then we have such progress because we see Kamala as the VP. That's great. But it has to mean more than the symbolism. And in order for it to mean more than the symbolism, it's on us, like you said. It's on us to figure out how to shake this country up, shake this system up. We're gonna have to do more than march. Y'all saw that. We just went to march in DC. And we still don't have no progress on the voter rights bill. So it's gonna take more strategy. It's gonna take more unity. It's gonna stop the pettiness. And we have to do more research. As you can hear, a lot of people got up here and talk, including me, who don't know everything about this issue. We need to sit down, huddle up, do the research, and come together to make real moves on this issue. That's my opinion. I'm holding y'all to task. So if you come back next week and you don't know about the issue, whose fault is that? Whose fault is that? Ours. Right? Ours. So we have to stop coming here and expecting a solution to come out of the thin air. We have to go make that solution happen. I'm serious. I'm not just talking to myself. We're not huddling up every day, every Monday, just to talk and share articles. We have to come and work towards action and then take that action to DC or wherever else we got to take it and make these moves. We have the opportunity here because we have the people, we have the resources, we have the connections, but we are not using them properly. It's on us, young people. That's all I have to say.
Oh my gosh, that was such a great point. That was such a great point. And what what Ashley was talking about in the back was that I was talking to her, said we're living in the group, we're living in the most volatile times. And volatility is really good. Think about it like an investor. That's where you make the most amount of money because the rules aren't the same. The system is open wide. And if we can come together, create innovative solutions to this, I think we have a really big opportunity as Huddle, as everyone in this room, as National Action Network, as Black people, as people that care, to make a massive difference. Let's do it, guys. And one last thing, Ashley said something even more powerful than what we were talking about before. She said we don't need to depend on the government. We can think about how can we talk to corporations, corporate leaders, hold them to task. Netflix is giving so much money to HBCUs like Morehouse. Let's call some more money. Let's rally, let's fund these schools, let's take over. We can do political and we can do financial. What's limiting us?
Okay, so I'm gonna keep it very short and very brief. This is going back exactly to what I say every time I come up here. Politicians will be around and they will tell you what you want to hear, and they will say all of these promises when they want you to vote for them. And once we vote them in, that stuff does not come to pass. which means we need to stop falling for the tricks of these politicians and really start to charge them. As someone who's in BMCC right now for video arts, planning to go to an HBCU next year, this is scaring me because I don't come from the richest family. I don't come from people who immediately can say, oh, we can definitely pay for this. I'm most likely gonna have to take out student loans, and that's something that's gonna carry on I might have to carry on my back for years. So for the fact that I was really looking at this whole, oh, we're giving 44 billion to HBCU, I was excited. I'm looking at this like, yo, by the time I get on ANC's campus, it's gonna be new stuff on campus. It's gonna be all these buildings are gonna be done, and now there's nothing. Yeah. So it's like, how do you feel as a student when you have so much hope and faith that when you get on campus, there's just gonna be so much grandiose, and it's gonna be that real experience that we've seen in movies like School Days and that we grew up on. Like, we looked at HBCUs like they were the top of the top. They are, but we just looked at them with this such pride. And now it's like, what's our motivation now? We sit here and it's like, it seems like the government doesn't care. And it's sad that I'm about to say this, but sometimes it feels like they don't. They don't want us to be educated. They don't, which is exactly why our next steps is to get our education anyways. You don't want us to be educated? You don't want to put money into our education? We still want to find ways to get educated and take those spots in office. And we're going to find ways to stop voting for you guys and start voting ourselves in. Once we see people like us in office who will change the rules for us, we'll be fine. We don't need you guys. Ashley said it, we don't have to depend on the government. We can stand on our own 2 feet and make differences regardless of the people.
Awesome. So anyone else? Can I still do anyone else, or am I done? I'm out of time. All right. Thank you guys. Have a good one.
Whew. We're gonna have to save ourselves, guys. We knew that, and we continue to know it, so let's do it. Okay, so now let's shake it up a bit. Any good news? Good news?
Okay, so my good news is that I actually had an internet-free weekend. So yeah, I was in Canada, and I actually know how it feels to actually be one with nature. And y'all know me as this big nature girl who loves to be around, trees and animals. And actually, let's speak about animals. I got chased by a skunk and almost got sprayed. But
that's great news.
But no. but seriously, like, living without internet actually really brings bring you guys together as a family, and also to get to know more of yourselves and be in peace with yourself. So that's why I went, and I challenge you all to find your inner peace. And Diwali is coming up next month. I'll go on that later, but yeah, find your inner peace. Like, be one with yourself. Get to know yourself more.
Awesome. Stop. Ashley.
Okay, so one of my good news is it's great to have Usman Diallo back in the building. He's one of the greatest I've ever seen. I'm surprised he was up on Saturday, but it's always a great news to have Usman in the building. And he's doing great things at his school, but I'll let him share that. Also good news to have my auntie, my dad's sister, his oldest sister, stand up, Miss Tina. Shout out to God. It's her birthday today. She's from Alabama. My Uncle Kenny is out. Is he outside? He was here, but he's outside. I'm here, all here from Alabama. And Rajisha, his beautiful wife, my auntie is here also. They do the work in the South. They do work all over the country. For voting rights, they work with Black Voters Matter. They lead the Selma, every year, the Selma Jubilee. They lead those activities, but I just wanted to salute you all, love y'all. If you want to share some words, the mic is open, but that was my good news for today. And Marcus Allen is back in the building. That's for those who are on virtual. We're very sorry about the baby crying. That's Marcus Allen. He's excited to be here. Come on, Rajis.
Y'all feeling all right?
Feeling good.
All right, well, I just want to say thank you, of course, to my baby. I call her my baby. Well, both of them, Dominique and Ashley. But Mama Tina, like I said, we're out here. It's her birthday. We're enjoying. I want to thank y'all for what y'all are doing. You know, it's very important that we have these heavy conversations that are so necessary to the movement. And even though it may feel very uncomfortable, it's one of those growing pains that we just have to have so that we can get to the victory, we can get to the promise. And I'm not going to talk about some of the stuff as far as the college and some of the fears that we have with student loans and things like that, but those things are real. Those things are very important. And one thing that Pastor Glasgow always taught me doing this organizing work is that, you know, you have to learn how to organize in smaller communities to see bigger change. And sometimes we always want to go for the big bucks, and we don't realize that if you make an impact where you are, it can shift the dynamics of the whole environment around you. And so, like I said, y'all just keep having these conversations. We love Mama Tina. One thing about her, she feeds about 300 people a day in our soup kitchen, and her passion is the youth. That's her thing, to see young people know that y'all got this. You made it through COVID-19, you made it through a lot of different culture shifts, and yes, I agree with the text and the literature that needs to be changed within the school system on every single level. I do agree that there is an unacknowledged mental health crisis that is here. One thing I do want to say, because one thing about me, I love talking about the movement, so you just have to take the mic from me, but one thing about mental illness, and I think somebody mentioned to the fact to make sure you talk to your family member. And I want to challenge, especially those who feel like they don't have anybody to talk to. It is very important that you find somebody to talk to about mental illness. Because the thing about it is that you may have something genetically, you may have something that's an underlying condition, and it may just be just a whole, ball of things. But the problem is that we die daily inside. I'm not talking about outside physically, by drowning in our own mental health. And if you don't know what that word means, let's talk about it more. Figure out how we can put it more on a platform so that we're just raising more and more awareness, because it's that time. You're gonna see an increase, you're gonna see a height, and it's gonna be, we're gonna be ready. We're gonna be ready for that time, right? Y'all gonna be ready? I don't wanna hear y'all say I wanna be ready. That's your next mental illness campaign. I'm gonna be ready. All right, y'all take it easy.
Let's give that a round of applause, please.
Hi, last Monday, I announced that I'm scheduled to take the poll worker training test. Well, the good news today is I passed the test. So I'm ready to be a poll worker November 2nd. And I seriously, strongly, respectfully encourage everybody, please come out and vote. We'll be waiting for y'all. Amen.
How y'all doing? I just want to let y'all know I'm not only Dominican National Uncle, everybody else call me Uncle too. Y'all can call me Uncle. But anyway, so what we're doing down there in Alabama, Florida, and Georgia is we've been working on a lot of different things for years about people voting out of jails. And we won a lawsuit where they can vote out of prison. So they can vote out of prison inside Alabama, and now they can vote out of prison in Mississippi. We're encouraging you to do that here in New York, because y'all got a lot of people that's locked up right over there in Rikers Island that still have the right to vote. Nobody went and registered to vote. And I got a lot of people that's in the movement with me and be in these circles with me all over the country, but I'm still looking at why they ain't with the Rikers Island and registered people to vote. So I'm gonna ask y'all in the huddle to do that. Another thing that is really, really prominent now is that we're looking at how they're funding the prisons. When I heard Ashley speak earlier about how we was talking about defunding the police, and they start putting it over here, over there, and everywhere else. One of the things that we're fighting right now is down there in Alabama, they're trying to take the $400 million out of the COVID relief funds. And Alabama is #1 in COVID deaths. And they want to take it away from there, and they want to put it inside building 3 new prisons and house about 8,000 more people. Now, if us would have did that, that would have been misappropriation funds. So these are the things that I want y'all to look at, and I'm very, very glad to be here and see all you young people and do these huddles. We've been watching them from down south, and I encourage them to do them in Florida, encourage them in Georgia, Mississippi, and all in the South to do, especially Alabama. But one of the biggest things and questions that I want y'all to talk to the people that's listening now is that they've been having huddles now against, and it's domestic violence month. But there's so much violence among us. So our domestic violence looks different. Did anybody hear what I said? Because our domestic violence ain't just husband and wife or significant other or whatever. Our domestic violence is brothers shooting brothers, sisters killing sisters. Our domestic violence is us talking against each other. Our domestic violence is us raising us each other in this movement, helping each other build this movement, and then time somebody throw a little money out there, we start domestic violence in each other, verbally and mentally and psychologically. So I want to ask that question. What do we do, young folks, to avoid that? Because you can say that our generation was on crack and we helped contribute to it. You can say that the generation after us went through that, but y'all are the pandemic generation. Y'all are COVID-19 generation that's dealing with stuff that none of us dealt with. So how do we deal with the fact that we got all the odds against us already? We got the government against us. We got the oppressors against us. We got people that love us against us. Now we against us. How the hell do we help us? That's my question.
My job. We're going to let that simmer in. Real quick. So we can understand what he just said and things that
That's right.
Think about it. Mr. Julian?
So I didn't really have, I was gonna say one thing for people who have mental health issues, what's going on. A free resource is 1-800-NYC-WELL. You can call at any time, 24/7. Have a specialist there to contact you, talk to you about your issue, and hear you out. So just 1-800-NYC-WELL. To Uncle's point, I think it's so difficult, right, to try to manage those feelings out. I think, man, like a lot of the time when it comes to anger and aggression, especially as Black men, if I can be honest, when I get angry, which happens rarely, but when I get angry, it comes out of a point of feeling not heard, a point of feeling almost, which if I can be honest, like weak about anger, because we're expected to be so strong. So when we express sadness, it comes out as physical violence sometimes, an ability to show that we're macho, that we're tough, instead of just saying sometimes that we're just hurt. And sometimes, man, this insecurity sometimes pops up as sometimes us looking out for different types of women. And so it's just like, I think we got to talk to brothers and give them the vocabulary of pain, give them the space to articulate. You know what I'm saying? And that's just being honest, because going to an all boys school, you have the chance to be in the space with guys and kind of talk about trauma. A lot of times, we don't talk about brothers going through sexual trauma because we're embarrassed. We don't talk about the times when we were hit too hard by an older man and we saw an older man hit our mothers and we felt weak. And we try to say to ourselves, man, I'm never, ever gonna let no man hit my mom. And that ends up letting no man hit anybody. I'm gonna protect my crew. If you touch my crew, it's like they touch my mom, what I love, I'm gonna kill you. But it comes to a point, man, we gotta just say, hey man, I'm hurt. Like a wounded animal, when you corner it, it's gonna bite, it's gonna fight. So sometimes we gotta just see the person that we're talking to when they're angry and just kind of see them as what they are, a wounded person. So that's what I would think with that. So my good news though, is that I'm gonna be here a lot more often. So I'm gonna give my number out. I know it's probably not a smart thing, but and just call me anytime you want to brainstorm with me. My number is 646-510-6999. 0176. Okay.
I'll tell you later on.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Stephanie McGraw. I'm the founder of WARM. I am the guest speaker, but I couldn't hold it because it was rolling up. So first thing I want to say, thank you, Unc. You Unc too. You know, we have to be able to know that we got uncles beyond our uncles that's just there for that, that's going to support us, that's going to be here for us. You know, we have to start bringing that back to our unity. We need, you know, because when I grew up, if I did something disrespectful, or I did something wrong, I got beat by my mother, I got beat by the neighbors, and then I got beat by the aunt. We don't have that no more. Today we're pulling out guns and shooting each other. But I want to say something to the mental illness piece first. One of the things that is very difficult in our community to deal and to identify mental illness because the identification is not there. So when I grew up in my household, it was mental illness. When I grew up in my household, it was molestation. When I grew up in my household, it was domestic violence, but it was not identified as that. They just said Uncle Joe is crazy. So everybody was always crazy, and there was no identification. So you can't fix what you can't see. Until I start identifying what is happening to you, then we can begin to start working on them issues. But it took me 30 years to get identification at every single thing that happened to me as a child, as a young adult, as an older woman, as a grown woman child, was domestic violence? You mean I had to wait 30 years to get to the hospital to hear a doctor say, that's domestic violence? No, that's what we do in our household. They fight, they screw, they make up, they fight, they screw, they make up. That's what I thought love was. So I got to come back on that because I am speaking here today. But I just wanted to point that. And the other thing I want to point to is that just, you know, what we are so hard to say, we got to remove that ego because that's easing God out. And that macho, and you know, my brother in jail, my brother right now doing 25 years on a diss. Man, he dissed me. Yeah. Just say I'm hurting. Just say help me. Just say, you know, I don't know what to do, but we are so messed up. We still dealing with that 400 years of trauma. We're still dealing with that master because he put it. You talking about how we gonna get together in this youth and this community when I start getting hit off? And, you know, the most important thing is, to me, it is a labor of love. I did this work for 8 years with no money, so I'm clear this is my community that I'm coming back to serve. And when I get, everybody get. And that's what we're missing. But when you come from crumbs, when the slave master gave you his crumbs, he gave you his leftovers. And when you had a black woman that took and made delicacy out of the slave master pig feet, out of his chitlins, out of his throwaways, that's a powerful woman that can make a delicacy to feed her family and make a meal out of what you consider to be throwaway. So we got to come back to that. I'm going to hold that because I know I'm coming back.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you a question first. There's a phrase that's above the court buildings. It's a phrase that's on the money. Do any of you know what that phrase is? Absolutely. So I'm hearing all this, right? And the reality of it is, there's so much anger, in my opinion, because people are leaving our God. Nobody has to go and ask somebody to help me. A person goes to God. That's the reality. Some people are not mature enough to hear anybody else's problems. And that expectation is very unrealistic. But from my own personal experience, I have been angry. And when I go to God, my anger changes to be more righteous and definitely peaceful. But I get what I need to get done because I'm going at it rightfully. God will help any of his people who come to him or her. God is real. So anybody who really believes they have an anger problem, go to God first. That's my advice to anybody. We got to stop talking about the trauma without putting God in to help us with the trauma. That's the reality.
Good evening, gang. So I just wanted to say something real quick because I had a feeling this topic was gonna cross this microphone. Last night, I was talking to my boys about discipline, how parents discipline their children. And we was talking about beatings, right? And one of my friends, his father is super religious. And he said when he was younger, his father beat him, and as he was beating him, he kept saying, spare the rod, spoil the child. He just kept saying that over and over. So that sparked the argument on the block with somebody else because it was like, they played the religious card like, yo, that religious stuff, like, you know, I guess that's in the Bible. I don't know what chapter that really is in the Bible, correct? That's in the Bible. All right, I just wanted to make sure. But sometimes my friends be saying stuff and I gotta go back and check the older people and stuff. All right, so I gotta go back and apologize to him. All right, bet. So my thing is, as far as that, like, one of my friends said that back during the slavery days, like when they would take people out back, tie them to walls, ropes, trees, whatever, and lash them, right? And fast forward to present day, when we was growing up, a lot of our parents were doing the same thing to us, right? Now, I know some people like that's a bad comparison, but a beating is a beating. And I was on the side of that. The city took me from my mother, because my mother used to beat me, like bad, severely. It wasn't just belts, it was my toys, it was sticks, bats. And I was in a group home with a kid. My roommate, his mother stuffed him in the oven and tried to light him, like turn him on fire. He still has the burns on his arm till this day around his body. So I say all that to say that I don't know, I know people are trying to their best to reach their children, to keep them off the streets. And another thing I like to say is some of these kids, in all honesty, some of these kids are past help. Some of these kids are evil, some people just aren't wired right. Like there's some of these kids that are like, you know, a lot of kids these days refer to themselves as demons. It's called demon time. You might hear Ken Tree say, I'm on demon time, I'm on demon time. That's like a thing right now. And some of these kids, they kill, they sociopaths, like they'll kill with no remorse. They'll kill and come outside and get something to eat and sleep good at night with no problem. So I understand that some parents see that with their other children and something like spare the rod, spoil the child, that may be something that, but we gotta be careful what we do when we disciplining our children as we raise them. Because a lot of the kids that I was in foster care in the group homes with, we had a similar story of somebody in the household either molesting them or beating them within an inch of their life. So I just posed the question, whether it's a belt or going out to the backyard and grabbing a switch, you really got to ask yourself, what does that beating do to these kids when they get older and older? Like the people before us, like the other age bracket, they'll always say, when I was young and I did something wrong, my mother would get a belt and she would beat me crazy. And we'd be like, you bragging about that? Like, I don't like why, like they celebrate that like crazy. I noticed the generations before us, they like to always throw that out there and just brag about that. Like, and we look like, it's not a good thing getting beat. Like, mom, dad, you can't talk to me with your words. You gotta beat me. You gotta put soap in my mouth. Like that stuff, like growing up now, seeing it now, like that stuff kind of crazy to me. Like stuffing soap in my mouth because I curse, like that's weird. So I'm just saying, like, when y'all, I don't know, like, I'm really talking to the younger, like the older generation y'all passed. There's nothing I can say that. Huh? Oh, what you stopped me for? I know Ocean stopped me. I don't know why she stopped me, but what I'm saying, I know the older generations, y'all passed me. This won't penetrate y'all mind because y'all been doing it for years. Your parents been doing it to y'all. I'm just talking to like, when y'all have children, what are y'all gonna do when y'all kids act up and when y'all kids start wilding out, or you wanna prevent your kids from doing stuff, you know what I'm saying? That's all I'm saying. Like, I know I'm rattling some feathers, but I'm just bringing that point out because I just had this talk last night. That's the only reason why I'm speaking on it.
I need a stern talking to.
I keep saying I have a short time, I'm gonna make it real quick. Anybody who wants to call somebody religious because they whip somebody, that is totally wrong. A religious person does not do that. I'm Christian, I know what the rod is. A rod is to provide safety. It's not necessarily a weapon at all. A rod is to keep someone in place, in a safe place. I'm out, that's it.
Oh, drop the mic!
Sorry. I mean, hey, there's a saying that says hurt people hurt. Hello? There's a saying that says hurt people, and we are a people who are hurt. And we need to get to a time where we are healing.
One mic.
Okay.
There's a saying that says hurt people. And us as a people, we are hurt people. And we need to get to a chance of healing. For example, some people might view religious people as something they're not really with because there's trauma that's built into it, because people who claim they're religious out here molesting children, out here beating children, but that's not what religion is, no matter what religion you're from. That is not religious. But now it's just, if I'm a kid and I grow up through there, I have a bad knack of religion. Now I don't believe in God. Now I don't want to believe in God. And if you say, oh, if I have trauma, go to God, then if I see those people as being workers of God, then I won't go there. I will go somewhere else and do some other thing. So that's what I have to say. So thank you very much. Give that a round of applause. And now we have a special poem from Ocean. Sister Ocean, give that a round of applause.
Okay, so my poem is actually very personal because it is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and I actually wrote this at the age of 16 because I am actually a domestic violence and teen dating violence survivor. So you're looking at a survivor here. So my poem is titled Sorry, Not Sorry. Sorry. That's all I hear is sorry. Are you sorry for the first time that you hurt me? Are you sorry when you first gave me a black eye? Are you sorry when you first gave me a bloody nose? Are you sorry when you first broke my arm? Will you be sorry when I die? Or will you be sorry when I leave you? Sorry, not sorry. So that is my way of coping with domestic violence because I turned to poetry and arts, and as you see on my outfits. So I chose art and culture as a coping mechanism, not violence. So I encourage you all to not choose violence in the street, choose something that's positive and something that expresses yourself art-wise. So that's all I gotta say.
Thank you, Ocean. Thank you.
Scholarship. Now we're finally here by our special guest, Ms. Stephanie McGraw from Warren. Come on, a little louder, since you get up here.
Hi, good evening. I am honored to be here in the House of Justice under the leadership of Reverend Dr. Al Sharpton and his two amazing daughters, Ashley and Dominique Sharpton. And to be at the youth huddle is an honor because I know this is where the meat and potatoes are. You know, our youth are our future. And I always say when I'm speaking to youth, if your dreams don't scare you, they're not big enough. Dream, my dreamers, because you are the future. So October is Domestic Violence Awareness. I'm honored to be here. I'm the founder and CEO of WARN, and that stands for We All Really Matter. And I gave birth to this 11 years ago. You know, this is not a moment. This is a movement. And we're going to keep moving in this movement because now is our time. You know, we don't know how long this window's going to last. Black Lives Matter and all of this funding and all this racial understanding and what they call it, restitution they're going to give to the Black and brown people. We are here, and I am so honored that we are in this moment. So let's make it happen for ourselves. So I'm a survivor of domestic violence. I'm from Harlem. I live in Harlem. I've done everything Harlem, the good, the bad, and the difference. I've hustled for what they call that dark enemy for many years, but I'm so honored today to say that I say, God, use me, because I've been used by everybody else. Why not let God use me? Because I'm being used now to do a greater good. It's a higher calling. So it's not about me. It's not about you. It's not about my image, not about my ego. It's not about who's that, what getting down like that. It is about the greater good for the next humankind. Because my job here on this earth is to find out who I am. Your job on this earth is to find out who you are. Your job here on this earth is to discover who you are and what you were here and what to do. You were not here to be beaten and enslaved and mistreated and abused by anyone. We are all God's children. We are here to do great things because greatness is in us. We're kings and queens. We are heir to the throne. Go and get your inheritance. You're heir to the throne. Your father is the most richest man on this planet. So claim your inheritance. It's yours. It's mine. Warm has now claimed its inheritance. We're here. We're Black and brown women. We're in the community. This is a domestic violence organization that gave birth to this 11 years ago, coming out of that vicious cycle, those endless loops. You know when you're in them endless loops and they just lead to nowhere but degradation, and degradation, and more degradation. Well, that was my span for many years. So, and 15 years ago, I found myself at the end of my road again. And I finally said to the God of the universe or the creator or the air or the moons, why am I here again? Please help me, God. Those were my words 15 years ago. Now I'm from the streets, I'm from the lifestyle, I'm from the glitter, I have the story. I can go from the White House or I can go to the hen house. I can go from Park Avenue or I can go to the park bench. I've had the stories to reach my people. I'm from the projects, so I can talk to my sisters in the projects. I grew up in poverty, so I can talk to them sisters in the poverty. I grew up with no education, so I can talk to them sisters about that. But I'm so glad that God gave me my story because I get to use my life as a classroom. How cool is that? Yeah. I get to go tell somebody about my darkness, about my pain. I get to go into them deep holes and just go say, come on, sister, let me just help you, guide you out. Because I know where the landmines are. I know where the traps are. I know where oh my God, I just want to stay and hold on one more time. I know those stories too. I can say, sister, well, I almost held on one more time and almost died. I'm here to help guide you out. I mean, it's so important to tell your story. Because it's so freeing and it's so empowering when you get to say your truth. Because your truth will set you free. But I'm telling you one thing it's going to do. It's going to piss you off first. Okay? But it will set me free. Let me keep it on me. I got to keep it online. Because I ain't here to preach. I'm just here to reach. So I want to tell you about how I got to this point. That if I can do it, you can do it. So 15 years ago, I cried out. I was with a very dangerous man here in Harlem. He had Harlem locked down. He was doing this thing, and I was about that poison. I was about the destruction of my community. I'm here to tell my story. Can I tell my story? All right. So when I found myself, again, beat down, almost dead on the garage floor, because I said, I'm effing. That's all I knew at one time. The 4-letter words. When you grow up in a household in the projects and all you do is watch Erica Kane, all my children want life to live at the world turn, you don't know nothing else but that. So I didn't have any intellect at the time. I didn't know how to say, well, excuse me, that's not going to work for me. It was like, okay, let's try this again. The endless loops of despair that leads to nowhere, but more endless loops of despair. I don't want that for neither one of you in here. So I'm here to tell you my story. And I encourage, when I speak, I encourage my community. I say, look, I'm a survivor. We have to start really exposing it for what it is. It's a crime. It's not a shame. But when you grow up in shame-based, shh, don't tell nobody. What happens in a house, stay in a house. Uncle Joe, he just crazy. What I told you, he was a molester. No. Uncle Joe, he just crazy. No, he had mental illness. No. Uncle Joe is crazy. No, he's an abuser. I seen him. I seen my father do it to my mother. But the identification was never there, so I could not identify what was happening to you. It was happening to me. So I went on an endless loop of despair. So I got to that place 15 years ago because I told this person that I said, I'm out. And that's when I almost died. Because I didn't know the signs. I didn't understand that when someone is checking your phones and your emails, what you doing? Where you going? You know, who you was talking to? You know, if someone constantly put you down, you're dumb, you're stupid, you ain't never gonna be nothing, you ain't gonna amount to nothing, you know, you're fat, you're retarded. If someone always, if someone is extremely jealous, you know, red flags, like isolate you from your friends, making you these false accusations, and always making excuses for the abuser. If someone is always telling you what to do and how to do it, those are signs that you are in an abuse relationship. I simply say to you, get out. I don't try to sugarcoat it, it's gonna get better, because it does not get better. You know, someone recently said to me last year, well, domestic violence is not affecting me. I haven't been in an abuse relationship. Two things I said to them. You lived in this country for 4 years, right? So you were in an abusive relationship, because that Donald Trump was the master manipulator, the master narcissist, the master abuser. If you don't understand what abuse like and you have never experienced, have some compassion with a woman that's telling you what she experienced, because she was with Donald Trump. So yes, we all were in an abuse relationship. And if you say, well, it hasn't been affecting me, if you live in the neighborhood, if you live up there in Polo Grounds, and someone in that complex, in your building, and if there is domestic violence going on in that household, you are affected by it, because you know what? It's going to spill out into gang violence. It's going to spill out into the streets of teenage pregnancy. It's going to spill out into the street of crime. It's going to spill out into your neighborhood. So we all have a responsibility, because it's going to take a village. It's going to take a house. It's going to take warm. It's going to take organizations, grassroots, you know, Harlem State. It's going to take all of us to get involved, because when you don't recognize the signs and when you don't see it, the most dangerous time for a woman is when she's trying to get out. So that's when I almost died 15 years ago. 3 weeks ago, we buried Shanice Young. She was 9 months pregnant, coming from her baby shower. So we went from a baby shower to a burial, because she did not understand the signs. She didn't understand how dangerous it is when you're trying to escape an abuser. You don't, because it's all about power and control. Can I just educate somebody? Because I didn't have it. No one talked to me about domestic violence. That's why I'm here. That's why I didn't see my black skin. See, I got skin in the game. This is my community. This is my people. That's why I came back, because 15 years ago, I didn't hear nobody talking about domestic violence. I didn't see no sisters out there. They was like, shh, girl, be quiet, girl. Just put a little bit of makeup on, go get you a drink, and you're going to be all right. Girl, let's go get a Fendi bag. That's the mindset of where I came from. When you don't feel good about yourself, you know, you're not going to attract goodness to you. So, you know, my abusers were all men. Listen to me. I'm going to say it slow. Every man that I've been with, even if it's the same sex or different sex, whatever kind, because abuse, it does not discriminate. It doesn't be white, black, man on man, woman on woman, domestic violence, domestic intimate partner violence. But every man that I've ever been with was a manifestation of how Stephanie felt about herself. So if I'm going like this to you, brother, vote right there. If I'm pointing to brother, vote. But look what's happening to me. I'm going to turn it, so I want you to see. It's 3 pointing back at me. So if I'm always looking at you and pointing a finger at you, then there's an unevenness. There's nothing even about that, because it begins and ends with Stephanie. Everything that I need, everything I exist, everything I'm ever born with is in me. But what I heard somebody say one time, if you want to hide something, put it in the book, because black people don't read. We got to stop that. We got to change that concept, because I didn't have an education because it wasn't taught to me. I saw Superfly when I was 13. I know I look like I'm about 13, sexy, right? Sexy, and healing looks good too, right? Because I can still drop it like it's hot. I'm almost 60. But that's another story. Okay, but let me tell you about this, right? So all I saw was Superfly, so I wanted that life. I saw black exploitation. I didn't see the hustle. I didn't see black people making it. And my mother and father was from Alabama. And my father left my mother when I was 10, 9 children. So she did the best she could with what she had. She was a broken woman. So how was she going to educate her kids? How was she going to teach her kids that they were beautiful? They were, say it loud, James Brown, I'm black and I'm proud. How was she going to do that when it was not put into her? So I went through this vicious cycle. So I tell you today, it's all about love. I'm telling you, it's the most freeing thing. It liberates. Love liberates that ability. But it took me years, and let me tell you something. I'm still on my journey. You know, I get to heal alongside with my sisters when I'm going in and getting them out of danger. When I'm going in them homes, packing them up and getting them out. A piece of me is coming out too. So I got the greatest job of all. You know, I said to my friend, I love my job. He said, Stephanie, it's not a job, it's your calling. It is the most wonderful thing that I have discovered through God's grace, why I'm here. I didn't know for a long time, so I didn't think I was important, so I didn't get an education. I left school at 16 because we were poor, we were in the projects, and we wasn't taught that education was good. So I went right to the streets, and then I didn't feel good about myself. So I thought the cars and the lace and the glittery stuff, you know, they trick us real bad with that. But I want to tell you one thing about God and his grace. Because at the age of 55, I got me a GED. That's awesome. At 50, I got a GED. At 55, I got a college education. So anybody can do it. I'm telling you. And not only that, I gave birth to this. I gave birth to it. It was not my calling because if it was left up to me, I'd probably be still out there hurting myself. But God said, no, I'm going to take pain and turn it into purpose. And I'm taking you back out there and everything you've been through. You're going to use that to help somebody else. So if you're not feeling good about yourself, pick up the phone and call somebody. Go to the old folks' home. Come to Warm. Come to Huddle and just help somebody. Go and ask somebody if they're hungry and feed them. So what I want to say to you, the importance of honoring ourselves. This is National Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And because, you know, we are so disproportionate in the Black communities, we don't get the spotlight. We don't get the attention. Just real quick, I'm telling you about Shanice Williams, 9 months pregnant, was killed and shot by her ex-boyfriend because she didn't know how dangerous it was when she was getting out. But Gabby Polito, whatever her last name was murdered. They're still talking about her. She's still getting coverage. She got 1.5 million likes and she's dead. The father done created some organization, got $2 million because he's white. I've created this organization 12 years ago, and they haven't gave me $5 million. But what I want to say about us as a people, we have an obligation to come back to our community. These are our people. This is our community. This is our pain. But the unfortunate thing about what's happening with us is that pain pays. So at the end of the day, they're not really interested in Black people healing. The jails are full with Black people. The foster agencies are filled with Black people. The courts are filled with Black people. The welfare system is full with Black people. So, and the psychiatric units are filled with Black people. They really are not trying to develop anything for us to heal. So Warm is about feeling, dealing, and healing. Warm is about getting to the exact nature. Warm is about getting there and say, sisters, look, I'm going to help you out of your pain by sharing my pain. It's very simple. So we're here in the community. We're Black women. We stayed open through the whole pandemic because we were concerned about what kind of services that were gonna happen for our Black women. Like how the kids were gonna get tablets, how they were gonna get food, how the women were gonna escape if they needed to get out. We were already in a pandemic before the pandemic hit. Because the only thing the only thing this country has ever did for us is put a Band-Aid on the Grand Canyon. And you know that's absolutely impossible. So now you leave that and you come with a pandemic, everything was exposed. So our obligation was to have something, so we created a safe haven. And one of my clients' son was murdered on 116th Street last year during the pandemic. And we were like, how are people going to get resources? How are people going to get information? How are people going to get services they needed? So what we simply did, I gave birth to Love on the Block. And like I told you, I'm from that old school, you know, so I understand how to suit up, get up on the street. I watch them. I come from that. I know how they do it. So we did just like the drug dealers do. They come and put poison in the community. We came with medicine. We went to the hardest blocks where there was a lot of crime, a lot of gun shooting, and we just set up resources. We took bouncy houses, we took food, we took resources, we took, you gotta feed Black people. You want people to come out, you gotta feed them. We took food, we took 500 items of clothes. We took resources to the police, to the people. We even want the police with us because we said, you know what? Let's reimagine how we want to work with them. Yeah. That's what we want them to do in our community, but this is what we want y'all to do. We want y'all to come. We want the community to see y'all out there, not just arresting us and beating us up and handcuffing us. Let the community see you in a different light. So Love on the Block was birthed, and it has been very successful because we kind of used that to get to these women. So we were out there serving food, but it was very successful because we know only love can conquer hate. We know what it means. I know what it means to be in pain. I know what it means to not share your story. I know, my sister died from leukemia because she couldn't say I'm hurting. So when you don't have the ability to say you're hurting, it can go inside your body internally. It can cause high blood pressure, diabetes, it can. And we also brought HIV testing, we brought high blood sugar testing, we brought get a COVID test if you want, get the vaccine, whatever your choice was, we brought it to our community. So We All Really Matter is an organization that is really about raising the awareness, because I know only education can open the doors. But when you're not educated about what you see, when you're not educated about what's happening to you, when you're not educated about, what it really is, it is domestic violence. It's not he loves me. That's not love. Love is free. Love don't boast. Love don't envy. Love does not is jealous. Love does not conquer you. Love does not hold you. Love does not keep you in a pigeonhole. Love is free. Love is open. My friend said to me one time, open the cage and go ahead and fly. And if you come back, we were meant to be together. But if you don't come back, then we were not meant to be together. So, I say to my brothers and sisters, I had all this stuff I wanted to read, but God is the one that, that's going to never happen, because when he started to shake, he shake. But what I want to say one thing about the movement, because I was in a hardware store today, and it just hit me, God just said, you're going to share that when you go up there to the youth. I was in a hardware store today, and I lost my keys, so I was looking to get some keys made. And I was like, wow, everything in this hardware store is hard. But what I did all my life, I was in a hardware store looking for oranges. There's no oranges, there's no love, there's no fruit, there is no grapes in a hardware store. It's hardware. So I had to step on out the store, and I had to get into where there was growth and development. I had to start going to the park. And during the pandemic, I had to start hugging the trees, because at one point, hugging somebody was deadly. So I had to start reimagining where it was. It wasn't in the hardware store when you're broken, beaten, and torn down, and when you tell you're never going to be nothing. And all my life, listen to me, young people, and whoever else is listening in the universe. All my life, I looked for love in all the wrong places because I was looking, that broken little girl was looking for her father. And you know what? I found him. And every single man I've ever been with for the last 30 years, he was a narcissist. He was emotionally unavailable. He was a drug addict. And he was an abuser. That's what I was attracted to because that's what I saw as a little girl. And that kind of mindset took me into a space that was so dark for many, 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 many years. But I discovered what that was, and I started doing the work. And the household that I came from, they said only black people, only white people are crazy. Black people don't go get therapy. Girl, you better take that $3,000 and go get you a therapist instead of that Gucci bag. Oh, but if you want to get the Gucci bag, go on. But do you, boo. But all I'm trying to say is therapy helped me. It helped me. Because there was some trauma in my life that the streets couldn't get out of me. That a man couldn't get. I can say I did it all for you. You don't have to do it. You ain't got to sex it the way it didn't work. You ain't got to go in there and steal in the way because it didn't work. You ain't got to go in there and get 25 different men or women, whatever your flavor is. It didn't work. You don't have to go to the liquor store and go get 5 different bottles or whatever. It didn't work for me. You don't have to go and look for a mood, mind-altering substance. It didn't work for me. What worked for me in the end was finding out who I was and discovering and learning how to love Stephanie. It was free. It was free. So I'm just so honored to be here to talk about WARM, to talk about the collaboration with the Huddle. I said, if you want change to happen in the world, for nobody else to bring it to you, because we got to bring it to ourselves. And one of the things I want to say about being in the moment, because I was never in the moment because the moment just didn't feel good to me. You know when you don't feel good about yourself, you're always talking about yet, them, there, tomorrow, and none of that fixed me. None of that started getting me better until I got right here and started being mindful of who I was right now in this space. I'm somebody today, okay? I am a woman of substance today. And I can sit here and say, I'm all right with just being with Stephanie. You know, I'm a single woman, and I'm not saying that because I'm looking for candidates. I'm just telling you that a black woman, it's possible for a black woman to be all right. I done dated myself, I done went around the world, I done did some stuff. And right now, God said you're building. So let's build, that's gonna come when it's time to come. But what I wanna say is, being right here in this moment, and not, I always say, oh, I can't wait till, I remember when, or I wish so. That was something that never got me to my greatness. What started getting me to my greatness is I can wait. Oh, when? This is one to remember. This right here, being in Huddle right now on this day, and October 11th, 2021, is one to remember because I'm here in the moment. I am not wishing for it, but when, I'll be so grateful. I don't want to say I'd rather. I'm in the moment and I'm in the present, and this is the gift, and I get to experience everything here. But when you grow up in a household, when there's so much pain, it was just very hard for me to recognize and be in my reality, because reality was just too painful. But I'm so grateful that I get the opportunity to be here with y'all, to talk about the red signs, to talk about if you see something, say something, to understand I have these handouts, you can take them home and read them, but that would not, God said, you're not doing that this day. You're going to talk about what happened to you and how it happened, how you got to where you are right now. So I'm just so grateful that I'm here with you to share my story, because it's freed me. And during this month of domestic violence, honor someone You know, if you see someone crying, you see someone being mistreated, you know, or if you see a young girl and she seems like she's down and out, go ask her, she all right, talk to her. This is domestic violence awareness, National Domestic Violence Awareness Month. We get an opportunity to expose it. You know, I've been doing this work for 11 years, and I never, in my whole entire life of doing this work, of being on this planet, last year, we buried Aiden Wolf. Aiden Wolf was a 10-year-old Black African-American kid that lived in St. Nicholas houses on 131st. He was beaten to death by his mother's boyfriend and sexually assaulted. And nobody, I spoke at his funeral, because I went back and I waited till all the cameras left, because, you know, some people want the, you know, the glitter and the blood, and they want to be in the eye, they want to be in the news. When all the cameras left, I stayed out there and the family started showing up. And we were there for when they started showing up. We told them who we were. If they needed help, we're here. But Aiden Wolf was 10 years old. And he was being beaten, and I'm pretty sure someone shared in it earlier about being beaten. When you're being beaten like that, you're hollering, you're screaming. You're not being beaten and you just like, you being beat, you like, ah! So nobody called the police, nobody knocked on the door. We just too desensitized. You know, we got to step up, because these kids are all our children. That kid's little life had been saved if because somebody called the police. But when the police called back that number to say, excuse me, what floor did you hear that on? Where was that at? The lady did not pick up her phone, so the police didn't know where to go. She just called and said a little boy was being beaten in the projects and the building number. So when the police got there, they couldn't find their partner. Oh, man. So we have to, and I'm telling these stories because these are two stories that I was absolutely involved with and part of the funeral and talking with the family and helping them. We have to say something. If you hear it, it is your responsibility, it's your obligation to say, I'm gonna get that person some help. Somebody called me the other day, I said, call the police. Because I'm in Harlem, I'm not out in Brooklyn. But call the police, let them earn their paycheck. Shit, it's our tax money. Oh, excuse me. I just want to say thank you so much to Ashley and Dominique for inviting me. I do have some really good material here for you. I also have some treats over there. I have some information. We are collaborating with Dominique in the Hub and Ashley to do our first walk, because it is our responsibility to talk about, we're going to be outraged about what's happening to Black women here in Harlem. We're not going to just be all right with it. So we're marching to say, put an end to the violence against Black women here in Harlem on the 28 meters here. We are going to shine the light on domestic violence. So I thank you. I'm so honored. We're at East, we're at 8 West 126th Street, that's the WeWork building. Our hotline number is 917-736-1046. That's our hotline number. Our office numbers are 917-736-1621 or 917-736-0680. We're located at 8 West 126th Street. We're physically open. We stayed open through the whole pandemic, because as Black women, we know about the struggle. Yes. You know, we've already know how to make $1 out of 50 cents. You know, it was all right when there was no food, because we know how to survive with just a peanut butter sandwich. So we know, but we don't have to stay there any longer. So I'm just so honored to be here in the community. We're visible, we're boots on the ground, we are grassroots, and we know how much a gallon of milk costs in the bodega. Because you can't make effective change if you don't know what's happening in the community. So thank you so much for letting me present here today. Yes.
Questions?
Yeah, so.
Okay. So you want to hear these? So my question is that, because of that we help, domestic violence of, what happens in Harlem and stuff like that. I mean, I live in Brooklyn. I mean, I was from here, but I live in Brooklyn. But what can you do to help, about teen dating violence? Because remember, I'm a survivor myself, and I was wondering, like, what advice do you have for survivors of teen dating violence, whether it's a female or male?
So the advice I have for teenage, whether it's a female or male, is to set boundaries. That is one way you can really protect yourself, and it's okay to say no. That's a complete sentence, and I'm not comfortable with that. So, there's different dynamics between adult abuse and teenage abuse. Adults, they may have children involved, they may have financial connections, but with teenage dating and violence, it is that peer pressure and that ability to, as soon as if the teen starts saying, I don't like your hair like that, or, you shouldn't dress like that. That is the beginning of grooming, and that is the beginning of teen violence. I didn't know it was domestic violence when I was a teen. I didn't know it. So one of the greatest things that we can do is bring that awareness, or what's healthy and what's not healthy. It's not healthy for someone to check your phone all the time, where you're going, what you're doing. Because a healthy relationship is going to allow you to be who you are. A healthy relationship is going to support you having friends, having your own hobbies, going out with your girlfriends, discovering new things to do. That's what a healthy relationship is going to do. An unhealthy relationship is going to try to mold, control, and try to dominate everything that you do. So teen violence, it's all about that peer pressure. And the most important thing to protect you from an abusive relationship as a teen is to learn how to set boundaries. Yes.
You look fabulous to be 60. You don't look like you're well, hey, almost 60.
I'm 58.
You don't look like what you've been through. Strut it, girl. Strut it. Right there. Listen, when you've been through what we've been through, you'll be doing the same thing. Trust me. I just wanted to say something, but I do have a question to pose to everybody. Just for me, because I keep it real short. I know it's getting late, but I was thinking of mass incarceration when you were speaking. And I was served a life sentence of domestic violence with my end when I walked up out of that thing. And one thing I'm going to pose a question at the same time. I want to kill that cliche when people say they'll leave when they're ready. That is something, that is one of the worst sayings I've ever heard when somebody's in an abusive relationship. My experience is they'll leave when they're safe. And one thing that we don't do when we come to these spaces, what hurts me is that we still walk away with people still suffering with this thing, right? But one thing that we don't do is educate friends and family on how to react. Even though it's an act of ownership because we're going through our own things, we have to know that, number one, we don't practice listening, we practice talking, which that's how we practice, especially as advocates and community organizers. But when it comes to any type of trauma, even in domestic violence, it is very vital that we become listeners, because that may be the only voice, or the only ear, I'm trying to say, that person may have to escape what they have going on. Second of all, she pointed out a lot of the cues, and I know we don't have enough time for you to go through all the cues, because really we need to write a cue book, okay? I want to address the men. When it comes to your family member that's in a domestic violence, and my young brother talked about the anger that comes out, right? It's not good to run away from the person you love. Sometimes we say, you know what, like you said, they'll leave when they get ready. But it's very important when somebody's being abused that you're always in their life, so that they know that they have somebody there that's gonna protect them. And what happens is, sometimes our abusers come so close, they're come so close to our family that when it comes to us either leaving them, they're attached to our family members. But one thing the abuser has to understand is that you're only attached to them because because she's attached to you. Did y'all get me? That means that basically, if I'm your sister and you're dating somebody, he has to know that once I become aware that you're being abused, and not even that my loyalty is with you, it's not with him. You understand what I'm saying? Because what happens is that sometimes when you're entangled in that relationship and you try to pull that person away, then there's that contact that's there. But that's a whole nother message I wanted to share. But domestic violence, if you don't remember anything, remember this. Domestic violence is sophisticated. It may not look like a black eye. It may not look like a broken leg. It may look like somebody with some fierce eyelashes and some long hair who got all her stuff together. Okay? When you start seeing signs like the woman or the man is driving their car and they can't get to work, right? You know what I'm talking about? That controlling factor? Those are some of the cues. So my question to you is, what advice would you give family members and friends who are directly impacted by abuse? Okay, that is my question to you.
Very simply, thank you, sister. That was so powerful. I love that sophisticated girl. I'm taking that one. That's going with me all around the world, okay? One thing I'll say is when you are impacted or by family and friends, it's okay to go get help. It's okay to ask for help, but it is so okay to be gentle with yourself. Because, domestic violence is very tricky. It's like, how could this happen? I love him, he loves me. But at the same time, he's abusing me and he's mistreating me. It's very tricky, but the message I want to give you today is domestic violence is solely on the abuser. Yes, it is not your responsibility to fix him, but it is your responsibility to go get help for yourself, because we can't fix people. We can't change people. We can't change people, places, and things, but what we can do is take responsibility to get help for ourselves. So be gentle with yourself. If you're a family or friend, get some help for yourself. And if it's confusing to you and you don't understand it, step outside the dynamics and go somewhere else to get some help. Because sometimes you can be in that cesspool and you can go in there and try to pull somebody out and then they'll pull you in. So sometimes we gotta remove ourselves, step outside of the perimeters, because when you're in the frame, you can't see the picture. So sometimes we gotta remove ourselves. And I want to say this to you, and I really want you to hear me. When you are removing yourself, you got to move like this. Because if you find yourself trapped inside the lion's den, you're not going, because if you do that, he's gonna, So it took me 30 years to walk in the forest, so it's gonna take me about another 30 to walk out. I can't think that I'm gonna get this tomorrow when it took me 30 years to get into it. So my advice is to ease on out. And as you ease it on out, come to we all really matter. Because we are sisters, baby, that done been in the trenches. We'll get down with you. I can't even begin to tell you how many houses I've been in during the pandemic. I'm not waiting for the government or the mayor to give me a van. You know what Stephanie is doing? I got an SUV out there. It's a blue SUV, and that thing was filled. This pandemic, going into them houses and getting them women out, literally taking them to shelters, because we couldn't wait on the government. So I'm saying, ease on down the road. Don't you carry nothing that might be low. Come on, ease on down. You got to ease on out that joint, because we don't want nobody losing their lives. We're here to save lives. So here you go.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good. So I have a question for you, but I want to at first have a little gratitude. You are amazing. You are doing God's work. Thank you so much. And for the education that you're also helping provide, because I am a survivor of not only domestic abuse as a child growing up, but then also as an adult in a relationship with a man. And so leading into, as a kid, learning about domestic violence, I'm grateful for Black women for teaching me in different parts of my childhood that that's what it was, for naming, like you said, naming actions as domestic violence, naming certain neglect or abuse as domestic violence, learning that from Black women. So I'm very grateful to the education that I've learned from Black women along my lifetime. But then with the adult relationship, walking away from a dangerous man, gratitude for the Black women within the system that helped me to get a restraining order, that helped me to really not only protect myself, but again, to name the actions, to name the neglect, to name these things while going through the process. And I think my question, leading into that, my question is, could you give, anyone that's out there listening, right, is there maybe a top three of identifying characteristics of domestic violence to teach us, maybe a top three? And then also, if any of us listening recognizes, oh, this is a domestic violence situation, maybe a top three action for a person to do on that given day that they want to leave and be able to survive.
So, thank you so much for sharing your story, and thank you so much for your feedback. So one of the things is recognizing the signs is when you constantly, first I want to say, listen to your instincts. That's the first thing I want to say. And if you have not developed them yet, it is an uneasiness. When you're feeling uneasy about something, when something continues to repeat itself, when someone shows you who they are, believe them. Believe them. That's the first thing. When you start seeing those characteristics, and when you go talk to them one time, okay, you give them that pass. You go talk to them the second time, and you give them that, okay. But the third time, or the fourth time, or the fifth time, those are signs that this person is not capable or willing to change. Some people are constitutionally incapable of changing. That's what we talk about, that mental illness. But, recognizing the signs of abuse is when someone constantly puts you down, when someone takes your money, when someone tells you what to wear, when someone says you can't go to your aunt, your sister, your mother's house, I don't want you going out with your friends. Those are signs of domestic violence. And domestic violence is all about power and control. So know that love is nowhere in domestic violence relationships. Just remember that love is nowhere in domestic violence relationship, because those kind of mindsets, you're not responsible for someone else's behavior, but you're responsible for your reaction, how you react to it. So you got an opportunity to say, I want to get out. And I love what the sister said, they'll leave when they feel safe. So we make women feel safe, and we give them the safety plans of how to get out safely. So if you need help, we're here. You can go to wearereallymatter.org. You can email us at wearereallymatter@gmail.com. You can reach out to our social media, Warm NYC. We have safety plans. We get women order protections, and we get women into safety houses when they're ready to leave. And if they're not ready to leave, that's okay. We're gonna rock with them until they're ready to leave. But what we do say, it was a young girl that came to me during the pandemic, and you know what I told her? She said, well, I don't know if I'm ready. She had a broken arm, she had a 7-month-old baby, and she had an abuser that was in the game. And she said, well, I don't know if I'm ready to leave. So I just simply said to her, I almost was killed 15 years ago. And if you don't get out now, he might come back and kill you. If you're ready to go, we're gonna walk with you out of this. We walked with her, we took her to get a storage, and we got her a safe house to one of our contacts, and we're real resourceful. And then I use my own SUV because they said we don't have $90 to take that young Black girl, a Harlem resident, right in 136th Street, that Harlem resident, right to a shelter. That's what we do. So she was like, okay, I'm ready. Because she had that support. She had women that had been there, and that's what makes us different from other organizations. We're grassroots, we've been there, we experienced that. So simply to you is my answer to that, recognizing the signs. If you have to repeat yourself to a partner about a behavior more than 3 times, then that's a warning sign. Thank you.
Hi, I have a few questions. So the first one is, how do we stop like normalizing the relationships in teens and adults when they think that abuse, not only physically but verbally abuse, that type of the type of relationship is love? Like, how do we convince them and teach them that that's not love, so they won't get into a relationship and have it last longer than it should be?
Ooh, girl, go ahead, young girl. Jesus, that's a loaded one, and it can be done, but it's going to take a community. It's going to take more of us to come back to say that's not okay. And when you see it and hear it, don't just walk by it and don't just ignore it. Speak up and speak out. When he's calling you bees and pulling your hair, that's not acceptable. But you know, one of the main things is we have to be powers of example. So you're a power example. I'm a power example. I'm not even gonna allow anybody in my presence to treat me like that. And when I see it, how we begin to shift it is we start talking about it when we seeing it and calling it out right then and there. Because what's one thing an abuser or narcissist, he never or she never wants to be called out. Once you start calling those things out, like be gone, and start talking about it, that's the way we can begin to say, shift that. Because we're just like, we're too all right with it. And I'm so glad you posed that question. And one of the ways when we see it, we denounce it right then and there. And sister, that's abuse. But nobody at 15, when I was 15, you think nobody in my house, in my neighborhood even said those words to me. So I thought it was okay. So we denounce it, we talking about it, we see it right then and there, we address it. We don't let it sweep it under the rug, because if you keep sweeping it, it's gonna go into an 800-pound elephant. When it get 800 pounds, you can't physically move it out. So let's move it out when it's just a piece of dust. And that's let it grow. Thank you.
I have 2 more questions and I'm done. All right, so the second one is, how do we hold men accountable in these situations? Like when the girl unfortunately was shot, I'm sure that man had a bunch of friends, and I'm sure they wasn't doing anything to hold him accountable as the abuse is going on. So how do we put more pressure on men to start holding their friends and themselves accountable when it comes to abuse?
Ooh, this brother's powerful. Well, that's the next president of the United States. So one of the things is getting men more involved. And one of the ways we get more men involved is we invite them into these conversations. We talk about it. Because what I want to say that was very dangerous about the young lady that was murdered on 127th Street, Shanice Young, when she was murdered by her boyfriend, she was murdered by the man, her baby's father. 8 days later, they got him. He was at another girlfriend's house in the Bronx. Wow. So this is something real serious we got, and we have to start having more conversations like this. And we have to start bringing more men into the equation, because right now, a lot of the brothers are just still all right. We're walking down the street and seeing another woman being beaten. So one of the ways that we can begin, because it is going to take a huge effort and a push on all of us to get out there and start talking to the brothers. Brothers are got to get more involved, because domestic violence, 95% of domestic violence is perpetrated by men. So if we're going to begin to denounce it or end it, we have to get more men involved. And how we do that is we start having more conversations like this. We go start talk to some organization, because there's a lot of men organizations now. here, but I don't really see them out here, and that's really, really sad. So we gotta just start talking about it. We gotta start talking about it. And when that young lady, me and Ashley and all of us watched 120 8th Street when a young girl was bitten her face, Catherine, and we talked about it, and I cried out and said, if you're with these men, if you're in an abusive relationship, please let somebody know. The main culprit that bit the girl in the face, he got picked up. You know how he got picked up? He got picked up because his girlfriend called because he was beating his girlfriend in Brooklyn. So this is a real serious issue. It really is a national health crisis. Domestic violence really is, and until we start really putting the pressure on our local politicians and on Washington to understand that this is what it is, then they're still going to be like, it's okay. It's not okay. Yeah, so thank you for the question. Okay, and one thing I want to leave you with, thank you so much. I want to leave you with the power of yet, because the power of yet is so powerful. And I told you, you know, when I started this journey and started healing, I left school when I was 16. So I didn't have that ability, and I didn't feel good about myself. And one of the ways we can start shifting domestic violence is building our self-esteem and our self-worth and our value. Because I didn't have any value to myself, so I didn't think that that I needed to get education. And when you come from the street, you have this warped interpretation, you know, that misinformed by the misinformed people, that kind of stuff. But I want to leave you with the power of yet, because the power of yet changed my life. I didn't have my education yet. I had not got my GED yet. I had not yet got a college education yet. I had not left that abusive relationship yet. Don't never say, I can't, I won't, it's not, it's impossible, it won't never happen for me. I want you all to take this with you for the month of October and honor women, honor yourself, honor your mothers, brothers, sisters, anyone who's in an abusive relationship, and use the power of yet. She didn't get out yet. Not like she can't never get out. She gonna be in it forever. It's gonna always be this way. No, I will get out one day yet. The power of yet. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Let's all give Miss Stephanie a round of applause, please. That's why Black women matter in the movement, because we need their lived experiences. We need their shared experiences to help us get us out this deep, dark hole that we're in. And this is why Huddle is fighting that domestic violence groups should be a part of the care management system, because they are curing violence. They are doing the work, they're on the streets, and they need the funding to do it behind them. And look at it, people are doing it without the funding. So imagine if the possibility that word yet, they didn't get the funding yet. Yet. And that word of possibility is what we're hoping for to get them that care violence money. So because they are caring violence. So let's give her a round of applause. Let's give ourselves a round of applause. Let's give our uncle and auntie a round of applause, and everybody. I feel like we had a great therapy session today, you know, our day back. God has used us all. God used Huddle. God used these people to educate us and heal us. So let's go eat now.
Right here at the table. We know that silence high violence. We have our pamphlet. Please come to the table. I got some nice treats over here for you. So please come and take. I have some nice vitamin C, you know, for the winter time. Please come and take as many as you want. All our information is there. We have our next domestic violence awareness day in Harlem, East Harlem, because the numbers in East Harlem are extremely high. So we're now taking Love on the Block to the east side. So please come and get some information, get bracelets, and know that we already matter. Thank you. These are really good.
Cabinet folks, anybody in the cabinet, be sure to stick around by the table.